Gulf Coast independent wrestling fans, welcome back once again to another fantabulous edition of Front Row Fanatics as we're continuing our review of Ultimate Wrestling's Retribution show. So now, with that being said, since I was unfortunately absent from this particular event, I will turn it over to the man, the myth, the legend, the guy who was there, Mr. Internet.
Alright, coming up next, we had the match that was going to take place between Uncle Jim and Bobby Doll. Unfortunately, Uncle Jim does not have a wrestling license. He has a manager's license. Diana Drake was involved in this segment of the show too. She said she could not in goodwill let him go out and wrestle without a wrestler's card. So, Uncle Jim said, you know what, I went out and found the best replacement money can buy, and it was none other than one half of the Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson.
The former tag team partner in the Ultimate Legends.
Yes, and Bobby Doll was none too happy with that. This was a very interesting match. It was basically teacher and student. They took it to the outside of the ring, threw the crowd over by the Ultimate Cafe, got it back in the ring.
I bet you there wasn't no chicken over there at the cafe either.
I don't
Damn,
know.
management, I want some chicken.
But the end of the match saw Uncle Jim get involved in the match. Bobby Doll had him set up for what looked like a pile driver. Robert Gibson got in the ring, nailed Bobby Doll with a clothesline. Uncle Jim fell on Bobby Doll. Robert Gibson got the initial cover. 1, 2, 3.
Sweet!
And I gotta say one thing. I didn't know Uncle Jim had such good legs. He had a pair of Bobby Doll's wrestling shorts on.
No way!
Yeah. So, for those of you that, you know, Uncle Jim usually has a good pair of slacks on.
Right.
Uncle Jim's got some legs on him.
Sweet! Treat the ladies out there now. That's some Uncle Jim action, baby.
But the winner of your match, Rock and Roll Express, Robert Gibson.
Sweet, sweet. I'm sorry I didn't get to see this match because I would really like to see Bobby Doll against his former tag team partner, Robert Gibson.
Mentor, yes.
Yeah, tag team partner, mentor, teacher, whatever. I would have preferred to see them reform the Ultimate Legends, you know, and jump into the tag team division, but, you know, we fans don't always get what we want. You know, the Ultimate Wrestling fans were treated to witnessing Robert Gibson in action, and anytime you can see a legend and someone of his stature in the business, it's definitely a plus for Ultimate and the fans. So hopefully he will continue to grace Ultimate Wrestling with his presence in the ring.
I hope so too.
At the next show. So. And
I don't think this situation with Bobby Doll and Robert Gibson is by anywhere near over. Uncle Jim still has some payback. You know, he wants to dish out. Bobby Doll wants to dish out some payback. So be looking for that in the future. The main event had Death Row come down to the ring, and all night long there was a box in the corner with silver wrapping paper and a bow, and the CEO of Ultimate Wrestling, Alexander Hurst III, told Death Row it was a late birthday present. And Death Row said, well, you know, my birthday was about 6 months ago. He said, well, it's an early Christmas present.
Was he wearing his tidy whities, or did he have his orange Death Row suit on, man?
It was the whities.
The tidy white Death Row. The tidy whitey's got to go, man. That just ain't cutting it. I'm sorry, man.
Well, you know, everybody was curious who or what was in the box, and it was none other than the man from Area 51, Omega.
No way!
And, you know, we've been saying for months now, we're starting to see a few chinks in the armor that is Death Row. You know, a couple of guys have taken him to the limit, not necessarily beat him, but took him to the limit. And tonight was no exception. Omega hit the ring very aggressively. Actually chased Death Row from the ring several times. Death Row managed to get some offense in, but I would have to say 80% of the match was Omega. And at the end of the match, it saw Death Row walking out of the ring, taking the 10 count. Omega was your winner by count out. No title exchange or anything. Omega, not done with Death Row, went to the back to bring him back to the ring. Threw Death Row through those makeshift walls that are, you know, on the either side of the stage, thus causing the lights and the lighting rig to fall, basically collapsing the whole stage.
Damn.
And it took the entire locker room to separate these two. So I have a feeling we have not seen the last of Death Row and Omega.
I hope AH3 has some good insurance, man, because some people could be suing that ass with all them lighting rigs and stuff falling down on top and could have killed somebody or something. But, you know, nonetheless, the awesomeness of Omega returning back to Ultimate Wrestling and having a Pier 6 brawl out there, I'm sure the crowd was popping for that.
It was crazy.
And it was probably off the hook, man.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? It's been about a year since we've seen Omega in action, and the Gulf Coast wrestling scene is a better place with him in it. From top to bottom, this card exceeded all my expectations for Ultimate Wrestling considering what has happened. Just an outstanding card, top to bottom. I didn't like it that they didn't address the X Factor thing, the title.
Right.
But Ecstasy of Gold's coming up. So I have a feeling we'll get some closure and find out what's going on with that soon enough.
And all things being said, you know, I'd like to make a few comments on this, shall we say, turnover of talent in the roster or whatever. Okay, Ultimate Wrestling has been through this situation before. You know, there's ups and downs in independent wrestling. Rosters change, people come, people go, they come back, they leave for whatever. And I'm still an Ultimate Wrestling fan. I'm still a fan of the departed individuals who left Ultimate Wrestling. So those guys, I'll see you somewhere down the road. Ultimate Wrestling, I'll be back there to give you my continued support, and I know Ultimate will survive this as they did last year and continue to put on one of the best quality shows on the Gulf Coast.
All right, I think we're getting the sign. Coming up next, something new for Front Row Fanatics. We're going to have a guest on who is not a wrestler.
Sweet!
So stick with us. We'll be right back.